All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to learn how to write and graph linear equations using the slope-intercept form of a line. These are your guided notes in practice, and we will start with a warm-up here. The warm-up, find slope and y-intercept. You're given 2 points on a graph. So step 1 is to draw a line through those 2 points so it looks more like a line. Okay, so there's the line. And now we need to identify what the coordinates are of these 2 points. Okay, that's how we're going to find the slope. So let's see. For this point over here, it's -1, -2, -3, -4. And then down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4. So -4 over -4. Or -4 comma -4. So my point right here is -4 comma -4. Let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay. And now this other point over here is 1, 2, 3, 4, comma -1. Okay, so 4, comma -1. Okay, so now all I've got to do is make sure I know what the slope formula is and label these points x1, y1, x2, y2. So we'll write the slope formula down. Maybe we'll write it right here. Slope m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now that we know the slope formula, we can actually plug these points in and solve it out. Okay, so we will solve it out. y2 is -1. So I got -1 minus y1, which is -4. So I've got a minus a negative here, minus -4 over x2, 4, minus x1. So that would be minus -4. Okay, so that's kind of the first step. And we have to notice that we've got a double negative on top and on bottom. So the 2 negatives become a positive. So let's rewrite the next step. I have -1 plus 4 over 4 plus 4. Okay, so what's -1 plus 4? That would be 3. So that equals 3 over 4 plus 4 is 8. So that is the slope, okay? That's m. M. Okay, so m equals 3 over 8. We'll put that here. M equals 3 over 8. So the rise is 3 and the run is 8. What is the y-intercept? Okay, now we have to find out what the y-intercept is. And if we're just looking visually at this, okay, and that's all we're doing right now, the y-intercept appears to be exactly halfway between 2 and 3. Okay, so that would be 2.5 on the negative side. So negative 2.5. And for now, that'll be just fine. Negative 2.5. And if you wanted to express that as a fraction, you could say, well, negative 2.5 is -2.5, which would be negative 5 over 2. Okay, so you could put or negative 5 over 2. All right, number 2. Number 2, find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so here we're given 2 coordinates, and I want to notice something right away about these 2 coordinates. One of them has a 0 in the x position, and if we remember our definition of the y-intercept, it is where x is 0. That's the y-intercept. So we've already got the y-intercept. It's 5. Okay, so this is 5. And now we just need to apply the slope formula in order to calculate the slope. So let's label these points x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, and now we'll plug these into our slope formula, which we've got written here. And that would be, so m equals 7 minus 5, y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1, 2 minus 0. 2 minus 0. So what does that equal? That equals 2 over 2. Okay? And so 2 over 2 reduces down to 1. So the slope is just 1. And that would be a rise of 1 and a run of 1. So we've solved that out. And now we'll go to number 3, where we're asked to solve for x. And we're given 0 equals 3x plus 5. Well, if I want to solve for x, I'll just move this 5 over, subtract 5 on both sides. And now I have negative 5 equals 3x. And I will divide the top, or both sides rather, by 3 to get x by itself. Those 3's cancel here, and now I have x equals negative 5 over 3. The application for this would be to find the x-intercept. Okay, number 4, simplify. So we're going to distribute the 3x inside the parentheses. So 3x times x is 3x squared. Remember, it's the product rule. You add the exponents, and those x's have exponents of 1, so they add it together as 3x squared, plus 3x times 5, and that would be 15x. And that's it. You're done with that one. So that's the 4th problem. And now the 5th problem, find slope and y-intercept. Okay, here again, so this time we're presented with a table. And what we need to do is draw our alligators. So I'm going to draw, here's an alligator, and here's an alligator. And then down here, we've got alligator and alligator. So from, let's see, on the distance side, from 2 to 0, well, that's minus 2. And from 0 to negative 2, well, that's minus 2. Over here on the time side of things, from 0 to 3, well, that's plus 3. And from 3 to 6, well, that's plus 3. So what we're going to do now is make sure we understand which one is the dependent and the independent variable. Time is always the independent variable, so we'll label that x. Distance must be the dependent variable, we'll label that y. And now we want to take the ratio of y over x, because one of our formulas for slope said that slope m equals the change in y, or the change in the dependent variable, over the change in x, the change in the independent variable. So that equals, for each case, we want to do it twice, that's going to equal negative 2 over 3 and negative 2 over 3. Are they the same? So this is your check. Are they the same? Yes, yes. Therefore, that is the slope, negative 2 over 3. So m equals negative 2 over 3. How about the y-intercept? Well, this actually makes us think a little bit. We want to find a point where x is 0. Okay, because where x is 0, that's the definition of the y-intercept, and I see it here. Where x is 0, y is 2. Where time is 0, distance is 2. So that is the y-intercept, 2. Okay, so for number 6, find slope and y-intercept. And this one is just an identify problem. This is in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So the slope must be negative 3/5. And the y-intercept b must be negative 10. Okay, that is the warm-up. Let's move on now to the main event. How to write a linear equation in slope-intercept form. First, we're asked to write the slope-intercept form of a line, and I've got this front and center because it's really important. I want you to memorize this. That's the M word. So y equals mx plus b. That is the slope-intercept form, and m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Okay, so point 1. Here's one implementation of this. Given the slope and y-intercept, right? So here's an example. Write a linear equation in slope-intercept form given m equals negative 2/5 and b equals 6. Okay, all we do is plug the slope in here and the y-intercept in here, and we've got it. So the equation would be y equals negative 2/5 x plus 6. That's how hard that was. Now you're going to practice. Write a linear equation in slope-intercept form given m equals 4 and b equals negative 3. Pause the video now if you haven't already and fill this out. Okay, I'll assume that you gave it a shot. So if y equals mx plus b, then that must mean that for this one, y equals 4x minus 3. And that is the equation in slope-intercept form, given the slope and the y-intercept. All right, here's another situation you might run into. Given a graph, okay, write a linear equation in slope-intercept form, and we're given a graph. So I've got some steps here. There's 4 steps here. First step is to label the coordinate points. Okay, so we'll figure out what point A is. Well, x is 0 and y is 3. So that'll be 0, 3. And now we'll find point B. Well, let's see, y is 0 and x is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this coordinate pair will be 4, 0. Right? Be careful with your zeros and where you put them. The x value is 4, the y value is 0 for B, and for A, the x value is 0 and the y value is 3. Right? You should be noticing right away that this is the y-intercept right here and this is the x-intercept right here. So let's plug these points in. A is 0, 3, and B is 4, 0. Now we'll calculate slope, and we've got the slope formula written here. So let's plug in we should label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2. So to calculate slope, we'll just plug it into this formula. y2 minus y1, that will be 0, minus 3 over x2 minus x1, 4 minus 0. Okay, 0 minus 3 is negative 3 over 4 minus 0 is 4. So that's the slope, negative 3 over 4. So the slope is negative 3 over 4. So this would be a fall over run. Fall 3, run 4. Go down 3 and go over 4. Okay, so let's identify the y-intercept. What is b? Okay, this is the y-intercept right here. So the y value of this coordinate pair is the y-intercept. So b is 3. And now we just put it all together and write an equation in slope-intercept form. So if y equals mx plus b, then for this equation, y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3. And the amazing thing you've just accomplished is you have written a mathematical sentence to describe this whole graph right here. And we will learn tomorrow how to take this sentence and create this graph. Right now we're doing it the other way. We're taking a graph and we're creating a sentence. But tomorrow we'll take the sentence and create a graph. And then you'll have the whole thing. All right, that's the second page. Done. So let's move on to the third page here. Practice. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, here you are. You're given a graph with 2 points and a line. So I've got the steps written out, but it's up to you to do all the heavy lifting. So refer back to the worked example you just did. The process is identical. And pause the video and see if you can't figure it all out. Okay, I'll assume that we pause the video or you pause the video. Let's get in here and do this now. First step, label the coordinate points. So we've got point A, okay, and that's something comma something. And then we've got point B, and that is something comma something. All right, so now it's just up to us to go find out what those coordinates are. So for A, I've got -1, -2, -3, down 1, 2, 3. So -3 comma -3. -3 comma -3. Okay, so we'll go put that here. -3 comma -3 for point A. Point B. Well, okay, so that's 0 comma 1. 0 comma 1. 0 comma 1. We're now asked to calculate the slope. Okay, so slope formula. It's always good to rewrite this. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the slope formula. Let's plug in our points. So we should first label them. x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, so let's plug in our points now that we know them. y2 is 1 minus -3 over 0 minus -3. Now, even though there's a 0 there, anytime we see a double negative, we turn it positive. So this is equal to 1 plus 3 over 3. Okay, and now 1 plus 3 is 4, so this is equal to 4 over 3. So 4/3 is the slope. All right, m equals 4/3. Now let's identify the y-intercept. Well, we can see it right there. and it's also given as a coordinate pair because x is 0. Wherever x is 0, that's the y-intercept, so y-intercept is 1. It's where the line passes through the y-axis. So b equals 1. And now we're ready to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So let's just fill this out. Y equals, what's the slope? 4/3. 4/3 x plus b, the y-intercept, which is 1, plus 1. And there you did it again. You've now written a mathematical sentence to describe this stuff over here. Okay, let's move on to the second practice problem. Now, in this problem, you're just asked to do one more little step. You're asked to plot these points first. So write an equation in slope-intercept form given a blank graph and two coordinate pairs. So this is the first step. Plot both points and draw a line. Well, this is the fun part. We get to go in here and draw some stuff. So now, the first A point is -4, -1. So that would be -1, -2, -3, -4, and then down 1. So right there. And the next point is 0, -3. So we go to 0 on the x and go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is the second point right here. So here are my 2 points. This is point A, and this is point B. Right? And now we want to draw a line that goes straight through those 2 points. Come in here and draw this line. Okay, there it is. Put you some end caps on that. And let's go ahead and identify these coordinates. A was -4, -1, and B was 0, -3. All right, so now we're just back to what we were doing in the previous 2 examples. So now we have to calculate slope. And let's remember that slope, we'll write it here. I'll write it here. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we need to label our coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2. And we just plug those points in. Okay, so equals y2, -3, minus y1, -1. So -3 minus -1. Lots of negative signs up there. No problem. We can deal with it. x2 minus x1 in the denominator, that's 0 minus -4. 0 minus -4. Okay? So let's see what that all equals. Well, this is -3, and then those 2 negatives become a positive, -3 plus 1, over +4. -4 is +4. So now we have -3 plus 1 over 4. What does that go down to? -3 plus 1 is -2 over 4. And that reduces to -1/2. Okay, -1/2. Now we have to identify the y-intercept. Well, that's fairly easy. It's right there. But what is that y-intercept? Well, it crosses the y-axis at -3. 0, -3. So the b value, b equals -3. Okay, so now we're ready to write the equation in slope-intercept form. And that would be y equals, what's the slope? -1/2. -1/2 x, okay, plus b, but in this case b is negative, so we would just write minus 3. And that takes the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, excellent job. Great job. You did it. Now make sure you do your homework. Tomorrow you will learn how to take an equation in slope-intercept form and graph it. So we're going to take these equations we've been finding and learn how to put them on the graph. Remember to grow, okay? Grow. Row the boat. Keep rowing even when you feel like you can't row anymore. And don't row alone. And Panthers, remember, elk is in season. Go get you some!